Hi everybody, Gabe here from GBR Music. Thank you for checking out this video and welcome to From Piano to Full Orchestra with BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover. Today I'd like to show you how to get from this piano sketch to this fully orchestrated segment. One of the reasons I'm really excited about this tutorial is because I'm going to be using a completely free orchestral library that Spitfire released this year called BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover, which is pretty much a light version of their full library symphony orchestra. And you can get it for free. If you don't know how, there's a little link popping up on the top of the screen that leads to a video that will explain to you exactly how to do that. And then you'll be all set to create this tutorial. As always, you'll find in the video description a download link that leads to the audio stems and MIDI parts for all this project. So if you want to just like open it and take a look under the hood, you can just do that, or you can just choose to recreate it by ear by just watching the video. Okay, so we have a lot to cover in this tutorial, but before I go any further, if you enjoyed this video, if you like this type of content, and if you'd like to support this guy, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Also, now would be a good time to thank my free first patrons on Patreon, Jerry, Karma Music, Elias, this goes to you. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate you, and I have some content coming your way very soon. Okay, so enough talking. Let's not wait any longer. Let's dive right into it. Okay, so here we are in Cubase 9, and a quick note on that before I go any further. For those of you who have been following my tutorials made in Logic Pro 10, no worries, this is pretty much the exact same layout as Logic, and the functions we're going to be using are pretty much in the same places. The names can be different. For example, here in Logic this is called the piano roll. In Cubase it's the key editor, but the MIDI automation menu with the CC controls and the modulation expression, all this, which is what we're going to be using a lot today, are in the same place, so you should be able to find them no problem and replicate this. Okay, so now that I said that, let's just dive into it and let's take a look at the piano sketch and analyze it quickly before we get into the orchestration to see what it's made of. So let me pull out the score and my keyboard cam. Here we go. So it's pretty much just three chords: B flat minor, going to C major, B flat minor, going to C major again, and then D flat major going back down to C major, B flat minor, and C major. And the melody is very simple. It's just a B flat minor scale going up and then resolving on the fifth of C major. So let's just play it. G, and then back to E, the third, major third of C, same thing, and then this time going up to C to change the melody a little bit, D flat major going down, and then landing on C, on G again, sorry, and then B flat minor, and a B flat minor arpeggio going down, and landing on C. And there's also a counter melody that you can see here that starts on bar 9 that goes up the scale and against the one that goes down the scale. And that's going to create some really nice, melodico-harmonic movement within the orchestra. So we'll get back to that a little later. Let's just rehear it real quick without me talking, and then you guys can hear both voices going together. So let's just hear that. And now the counter melody coming in. So here you go, super simple stuff, and I think I really like this little melody. It's sad and beautiful, and I really enjoy it. So I thought this would be good for this tutorial. Okay, so now that we did this, let's actually start the orchestration of the project. And so what I want to do is I want to start with the string section and build it up from the bass to the violin ones, and then we'll use that pre-arrangement to build the rest of our orchestral arrangement. But we're going to start with the strings, which is what I did when I composed this piece, actually. Okay, so we're going to be starting with the basses, and the basses are going to be playing the roots of the chord, so B flat, C, B flat, C, D flat, C, B flat, C. And here is the Symphony Orchestra Discover interface. The basses are here, so you click on that. I'm going to bring those levers. These are modulation and expression controls, so just about 60 for the recording. But as soon as we're done with the recording, we'll change those parameters to make it sound much better, because it's definitely going to sound a little rough straight out of the box. We're going to have to work with the recording after. And we're going to be using the long articulation. So here we go. I'm going to close this because I think we've seen it enough. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so here it is. Pretty boring so far. Nothing very interesting, but let's change that. And to that, I'm going to quantify it so that it falls nicely on the beat each time. And to make it more interesting, let's go here in the key editor, or the piano roll, whatever you prefer calling it. And I'm going to select the line tool, and I'm going to make sure that I'm set on modulation. And I'm just going to click here at the very bottom and bring it all the way up just after, on the second beat of the second note, up, and then do the same thing and bring it all the way back down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And then I'm going to select expression, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Up and down, up, down, up and down, up and down. Okay, so it's really worth actually taking the time to do it right this one time, because then after this we're going to be duplicating this part a lot in the other sections of the orchestra. So if you do it well once, you won't have to redo it again and again and again. So just make sure you do it once, and then you'll see that it's going to really help you. So let's listen to the difference now that we did those adjustments. So you see now we have nice dynamics in the part, which sounds much better and much more interesting. So now that we did those, if we duplicate this part into another section of the orchestra, the automations will already be there to be played, so we don't have to repeat the same process like 30 times, which is a big time saver. Okay, so I'm just going to click on this and duplicate it into the cello track. And then I'm going to select everything, and the cellos, I like to play the same line but a fifth up, so that would mean F1 right here. I could use the third, but the third is very close to the root and it makes it sound very muddy. So I feel like this is a better compromise and it sounds better. Let's just listen to it, to both of them together. Okay, so it sounds pretty nice and rich, and I really like the general, feel of it. So let's just move on to the violas. So now I'm going to duplicate this cello part into the viola section, select everything, and I'd like them to play the third of the chord. So that would make a D flat, but that sounds a little low. So let's bring in an octave up. Let's use D flat 3. And instead of going up like the basses and cello, let's bring it down. So from D flat, they're going to go to to C, the fundamental, D flat, C. Then they'll play the third of D flat major, which is F. Then the third of C, E. And then back to the third of B flat. And the root of the chord. So let's listen to that. Okay, super nice. So now let's keep building our string section up. I'm going to duplicate what the violins are playing into the violin 2. And the violin 2, I want them to play the 5th of the chord, which would be an F, to E, F, E. Okay, they're going to be playing an A flat, which is the 5th of D flat major. Then go to G, the 5th of C. Then go down to, F, and then going to go back to E, the 3rd of C. Perfect. Okay, so I'm not going to play this one. Let me just do the violin ones. So the violin ones, I want them to start on the minor 3rd, so D flat. Up, whoops, and then I want them to go up to the 3rd, and that movement going up is going to be really like nice and dramatic, I think. So same thing a second time. And then to make things interesting, let's give them a nice interval, like to create some kind of melody. So B flat should work. It's the 6th of D flat major, so it's also going to add a nice little color, a nice extension. To C, back to B flat, which is the root of the next chord, B flat minor, and then to the 5th of C major. And here, the violin ones, I think it would be neat if we divided the section so that they played in 3rds and maybe 4th for the first chord. So here we have a B flat. So yes, it's going to play an F. Here a G, so that's the 5th of C major. F is the 5th of B flat minor, and then E, which is the 3rd of C major. And then at this point, I think, just for the sake of, you know, having things change a little more, so here's our whole arrangement in the key editor. See, all the strings are playing together, so let me take some out. I want to take the violin 1s and 2 are not going to come in before the second time around, and this will create some kind of like variation into the arrangement. So let's listen to it. Okay, so all that sounds pretty good now, and now I think we could use a little bit of harp to tie all this stuff together. So the harp instrument is down here. Here's the interface. It's in the harp and celeste section, and we're going to use the harp plucks for this little thing. So pretty much what the harp is going to do is going to play arpeggios over 2 octaves, just playing the chords, like the triads. Probably going to make some mistake as I record it, but I'll just clean them up after. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so not perfect, but pretty good. Okay, so I did a little bit of fixing behind the scene, and now we have our harp part. And just let's solo it and listen to it real quick to give you an idea of how it sounds on its own. So that's pretty much how it sounds. Let me just add, we're gonna add a bit of automation, same thing, modulation and expression with the line tool. So maybe we'll start, you know, not too loud, and then go back down, and do like crescendos like that. That might be a little too low though. Up, same thing, same as the rest of the orchestra. Up. Duplicate this up. Perfect. Same thing with expression. Might be a little too much, but that's the kind of thing you gotta try out and see how it works for you and how it works with the mix of the arrangement. But let's hear it now. See, we get this nice. Very nice. Okay, very cool. So we are done with the first part and the hard part of the project. From now, it's going to be pretty much just copy and paste. So let me just, I'm going to select all that and I'm going to bring it here. And from there, we're going to work the rest of our arrangement. So let's start with the woodwinds. Okay, so I'm going to take the bass part we recorded, and bassoons and bass kind of have the same tessiture, so I'm just going to drop it in there. Just going to double check that it's at the right octave. Perfect. Very cool. Okay, so that's going to work. I'm kind of going to do it fast and just drop the parts where they belong. So the cellos we're going to give to the clarinets. This is too low for the clarinet, so we're just going to bring it up 2 octaves and see how that sounds. Perfect. Okay, so now same thing. We're going to take the violas and we're going to give that to the hobo. Up to D octave. So that's where the clarinet is. So we're going to bring the hobo here. And then we're going to give the violins to the flutes. Up, I have to solo them to hear them. And now let's hear the whole woodwind arrangement that we just created by just duplicating those string parts into woodwind, the woodwind section. And I think right off the bat it's going to sound pretty good. So let's hear it. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go back down and let's erase the cello part. Because now we have it played by the clarinet, so we could replace it with something else. Maybe we could replace it for, let's say, the melody. So let's record that melody that we played when we played the piano sketch and give it to the cello. Okay, so let's record the cello melody, and I'm using again the long articulation because there's no legato in that version of the library. So you have to make do with the long articulation, but it works pretty well. So let's just record it, and then we'll fix it to give it a little bit more, you know, depth and volume. That sounds pretty good already, but I really want to give it some character by, you know, recording some dynamics into it. So that's the same thing we did. Lines, so let's say I want a nice big crescendo. And then going back down a little bit on those two last notes. And then same thing, big crescendo. Up. And then down, crescendo, going down, crescendo, and going down at the end. And let me go to modulation now. Thing, big crescendo, going down, big crescendo, going down, big crescendo, going down. And one last time, a big crescendo going down. And now let's listen to our cello again. Okay, that sounds pretty good. So now up, we're gonna erase the violin ones because we have a lot of stuff happening already with the harmony, but we could use a little more melody in here. So I'll just like select it and we'll bring it probably 2 octaves up to this one, and then we'll just erase this because we don't need them the first time. We'll just use them the second time, and that's gonna sound superb. Let's do it. Okay, so now I'd like the French horns to play. Do you remember that like counter melody we had at the beginning that played something different? I'd like to give that to the French horns. So what I'd like the French horn to do is to play the same melody the cello do until that ninth bar where the counter melody comes in, and then that will start playing. So I'm not gonna duplicate this time, I'm gonna record it. So let me pull out my keyboard cam. Up, French horns are right here. And that sounds pretty good. It really adds a lot to the orchestral movement of the piece, you know, so it's really nice. But it wouldn't be complete if we didn't. My dog is dreaming. She's making weird noises. It wouldn't be complete if we didn't work it a little bit in terms of the dynamics like we did with the strings. So same principle, line tool, big crescendo all the way there. And then going back down a little bit. Up. Big crescendo. Going back down. Up. Going back down. And I think instead of having the horns play that long C at the end, I'd like them to go down to a G. Up. So let's see. I mean, we've already heard it, so no need really to go back to it. So let's just keep going. Let's bring more horns into this equation. So we're gonna give that same bass part we recorded to the tuba. Let's just hear it. Okay, perfect. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing we did. We're gonna go to the, duplicate that into the bass trombone and gonna give it to them a fifth up like we did for the basses and cellos. That's it. F. Oops, except that we don't want it to be duplicated. Up. Okay, so now that we did that, let's just hear them together real quick. With the French horns. Okay, and now let's just give what the violas played to the tenor trombone. Okay, so now we pretty much have all our horn arrangements. So let's just deal with the trumpets. We're gonna use what the violins are playing, the same melody, to support it a little bit more. And except we're gonna only do it for the 4 last bars, meaning I'm gonna, we just need it from here. And you, my friend, are gonna be playing up. We're gonna put solo on. So that's too high. I want them to be much lower than that. That's a better tessiture for them. And then I'd like them to play a chord when I get to the final 2 notes. So I want them to play chords there. So just the triad. And same thing here. So they just play, you know, like the notes of the C major chord. So let's listen to that now. Let's listen to all the horns one last time together from the point the French horn come in. Okay, so now that we have all the horns and most of the orchestra together, I just like to add one last little thing. We could use a cymbal hit somewhere. So let's just do that. To do that, let's pull out the percussion section. It's in the percussion, untuned percussion instrument. And here it is. So let's just record it. Put my keyboard cam, and here we go. Was a little weak, so I'll just like put it all the way up using this up, and I had to get a little creative for that, and I'll make a tutorial on how to do it. But since the library does not include a cymbal roll, I had to create my own. So what I did is I took a cymbal, I think this one or another one, and I just reversed it. So here's how it sounds on its own. And with the hit. So I would say it's, you know, not perfect, but convincing enough that it will actually work. So that's pretty much that. And I'll make a tutorial on how to actually create it in Cubase, but it will work. It's really easy. You just reverse, you just bounce in place and reverse. Okay, and since we went all the way, let's finish it and add a quick timpani hit, just one, so that we can say we have it and it's the full orchestra. So for that, you go to the same section, percussions, except that instead of doing untuned percussion, you pick timpani hits. And there's no timpani rolls, but I'm working out a way to create one using it, so stay tuned for that, probably soon. Okay, so let's just record it. It's gonna play the root C. The only instrument we haven't used yet is the piccolo, and in my original arrangement of this, it just plays this little lick at the very beginning. Actually, the second time, it plays a little response to the melody. So it goes something like, the melody goes, and the piccolo goes. So I'll just record it and you'll hear it. Barely hear it, so let me just get the expression control. We want a decrescendo on this bar. Okay, so we did it. We orchestrated this segment from a piano sketch to a full orchestra. So now comes the reward. Let's just listen to what we did. And I really hope you enjoyed following this tutorial and doing it with me. As always, you can get the MIDI parts and the audio stems of all this in the video description. There's a downloading, so don't hesitate to get that resource if you had any trouble following the tutorial. You can actually look at the material and dig into it that way also. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and let's just listen to it now. Okay, so this is pretty much all I have for you all today. I really hope you enjoyed the video and had fun recreating this piece with me. Once again, before I finish, if you'd like to support this content creator and this channel, please subscribe and like the video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.